He always just does that to defend, like defending.
I think like
Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, Andrea Berta, Ayyoub Bouaddi. Playing for Morocco at the moment. Obviously, plays for Leo at club level. He's a player that's been linked with not just Arsenal over the last year. Apologies, but again, the wider European landscape. Every top club's names in the mix. Apparently, at a 70 million euros asking price, you would imagine following his game against Morocco, that's been boosted up, and that's only going to keep rising, man. Now we've been linked with him. Apparently, we sniffed around him in January. I don't know how anyone feels yet, but for Arsenal to get to the next level, Arteta would need to tell you what he think he needs in that squad. You can make a case of another fullback on either side, maybe another defensive reinforcement. Obviously, the one priority has to be left wing, and Bacola links, Morgan Rogers links, you know, the list goes on and on and on. You can make a case of a striker. But one thing that I think goes under the radar is signing another central midfielder. Obviously, Declan Rice, as durable as he is, as quality as he is, and he's got us over the line, he said it's not done. He's human. He's stepping into this World Cup with 50, 60 games under his belt. However much that's going to add to the total, depending on where England go. Couple of weeks rest, and then he's back to it for England, for Arsenal. Apologies. So we need depth. And I want to have a world where you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly, you've got Zubimendi, you've got Rice. I think we're missing one more. If we could get 4 decent options in that pivot, and then across the course of a season, I'm not saying I necessarily want this, but we all know the rigors of the Premier League and participating in 4 trophies. You do have the option to flirt with changing the roles of an Eze, of an Odegaard, potentially a Morgan Rogers. I can't talk on him because we ain't signed him, but potentially a Morgan Rogers. And you get where I'm going. I'm going with that. But Bouaddi fits the remit. He's a cultured footballer. You know, he's a typical France midfielder in that he's very cultured. His positioning's great. There's a willingness to want to defend. You can tell he's a thinkers man's footballer, very high IQ. He's not going to get mad goals and assists, but he's like a glue of a team. He's going to receive it off the defenders, pick those passes and give it to the more creative men. I think there's actually more personality to come with him, people, on the ball in the final third. And you can see why Mikel Arteta likes him, because he's exactly the midfielder that we look to go for. And with him being 18, he's got a solid foundation, a solid experience that could only get better. His footballing IQ is strong. His analytical game is strong. As I said, in this day and age where it's all about numbers, he's never going to get goals and assists, mad goals and assists and grab headlines. And for me as well, it's a double-edged sword, because he's one of them young players I feel where your age is relevant but irrelevant. You've played in the Champions League an X amount of times for Lille. You're playing for Morocco at a World Cup, and you played extremely well against Brazil. I do think people are gassing up the game, if I'm honest with you. You know, it weren't for me. He stood out. He stood out. He's cultured. He took people on. He wanted the ball under pressure. He always wants the ball. You can see why he wants the ball. Why you can see how he could thrive in a possession-based side. And obviously, he's one of the best technical, proficient guys in that Moroccan side. Is he the showman doing 1,000 skills? No, but he is important, man. As I said, he's very coachable. He's very intelligent. He wants the ball. He likes to drift slightly into wide areas from centre half. I think he could do that kind of more, people. You know, he connects the dots. There's more. He's good at retaining and recycling possession. And obviously, he's durable. Obviously, I think he can improve in several aspects defensively. But if you watch Morocco, he's always in the defensive positions that a midfielder has to be. Now, we've been linked with Tonali, yeah, and obviously I like Tonali, but if this is 60, 70 million, you might as well go for him, because he can be crafted, he can be molded, there's resale value, he's 18 years of age, a bit like Morgan Rogers. You're not probably going to see anything decided until after the World Cup, but this, again, I don't want to, Arsenal are not just going to sign him off a game against Brazil, in it, where it's not a great Brazil, but it's just further confirmed how good he is. And for the casual football fan that isn't necessarily watching Leo when they're in the Champions League, etc., or in the French league, he's announced himself. As I said, he's mature beyond his years, but he does at times play like an 18-year-old. He is susceptible to moments of madness. I remember it was either this season or last season against Lille, where he's culpable of a couple of rash tackles. If I'm honest, yeah, he is what I thought Guendouzi was going to be for us a few years ago, people. Now, that wasn't to work out. Again, I don't know. Morgan Rogers, you're looking at 100 odd million. This guy, that's 60, 70, so that's 170 million. We're looking to get that Greek lad, so that's another 30, 40 million. I don't know the total cost of what Arsenal are trying to do, and if that's reliant on outgoings, etc., because we do need some gaps to open up. But I don't know, people. In my opinion, the Greek guy we're getting, he looks more Trossard than Martinelli. I think that tells me we've got a younger Trossard model. Trossard's going to be the one to phase out. So yeah, I'm not sure. But again, against Brazil, 91% pass accuracy. In other words, he completed 60 of 66 passes, 100% pass accuracy in the final third, 16 out of 16. Recovered the ball six times, 5 duels, 9 interceptions. And I wouldn't say a star's born because everybody knows about him, but he's announced himself to the world, people. Again, he had the most touches with 86, most accurate passes with 60, most ball carries with 23, second most ground duels won with 9, second most successful dribbles with 3, and an 18-year-old only his third Moroccan appearance and his FIFA World Cup debut. And again, his heat map, again, you can't just go off one game, but that shows you someone that has the capacity, because that's something people forget in Mikel Arteta's system. Midfielders have to drift out kind of into wide zones. You can see there's scope for improvement, but you can see in that little right-hand pocket what he could do. You can see he's keen on receiving the ball, you know, deeper. You can see he'll pull out to the left. You can see an all-rounder. Obviously, final third, there's not really much there, but this is a midfielder it'd be stupid not for Arsenal to go for and get down the line. And you have seen reports that we've been actively working on a deal for several months. Chelsea have been linked with him. They want 70 million euros. Paris Saint-Germain are sniffing. Apparently, Arsenal have already scheduled further talks with Bouaddi after the World Cup, and Mikel Arteta is expected to have greater involvement. Again, Romano said Lille, no top clubs are going to come for Bouaddi. He's been approached by PSG. They love him. There was direct contact with Arsenal and Liverpool. Both clubs had meetings with the agents of the player. It's going to be the summer of midfielders. Now, you can make a case of you'll get more first-team football at Liverpool, because I can't tell you, beyond Rice, who is going to be there. My hot take, as much as I like Zubi, I could see Zubi in a year or two going back to Spain, but I can't tell you, while there's 50, 60 games, you know, how much football, regardless of what I think of his ability, he's going to get ahead of Zubamendi, ahead of a Declan Rice. So there's competition for places, people, but clearly we want a centre midfielder. We were offered Tonali in January. We're still linked with that, you know, and I think top level midfielders, because really we're only linked with Bouaddi and Tonali where central mid's concerned. I'm a hypocrite because we have been linked with Kone, who's French, and, you know, France have lost out on a player. Now, I say France have lost out on a player. They're blessed with a wealth of riches in it, essentially. I think it's worth 60 to 70 million euros. I think it'd be dumb. I think he's, you know, I guess other people can say it, yeah, but there's some players that look like Arsenal footballers. And if you support other clubs, you could say this is a United player, whatever. He is an Arsenal player. Definitely, you know, as someone who's 31 as a Wenger baby. And his price tag's going up. As you can see, from December, it's gone to 50 million euros. Now it's about 60, 70. Obviously, if you're Leo, you want to sell him to the highest bidder. You know, we've got a good kind of relationship with Leo, so let's exploit that. But for me, the World Cup just confirmed that this is the guy Arsenal need to sign for the central midfield for the short, medium, and long term.
He always just active and defending.